Like all the other massively influential publishers in the game industry, Square Enix is no stranger to the Electronic Entertainment Expo, otherwise known as E3. It's the most watched video game conference in the world, with all the industry's biggest players attending and competing for the attention of hungry, new and returning customers of their products. Just recently, Square Enix has announced their plans to do their own E3 livestream for 2019 to show off the latest games that the company has been working on. They'll be holding the conference on June 10th, 6 p.m. Pacific time. This elusive primetime slot is usually one reserved for Sony, as it's very ideal to garner the most amount of people watching. While we're fully open and hoping for some new surprises in the form of both new games and details on ones that have been previously announced, let's just be fully honest here. There's one game that takes the crown above all of them, and that is Final Fantasy VII Remake, a game that's been stuck in purgatory, and a game that we got more details about in the first year it was announced than the subsequent 3 years after, with only mild updates in between. There hasn't been a new trailer in 4 years. Will this year finally be the year that Final Fantasy VII Remake is to be re-unveiled for its eagerly awaiting fans? Honestly, it just might be, as we have quite a number of clues that this could be the big reintroduction for the game. First and foremost, literally one day before this E3 livestream, there's going to be a Final Fantasy VII exclusive concert being held minutes away from the Los Angeles Convention Center. That is where E3 is being held. It seems so odd they're choosing this time in particular to celebrate Final Fantasy VII's music. And again, this concert isn't like Distant Worlds where they'll be playing various Final Fantasy music. They're only going to be playing the music from Final Fantasy VII. One day before, people would logically be hoping for a re-reveal of the game. Knowing Square though, it could all be a coincidence and end with, "We don't have anything prepared to show at this time, please understand." But if it is all unrelated, they picked the worst time for these two things to have collided. Though I have a sneaking suspicion that this isn't just unrelated or a mere coincidence. Final Fantasy VII Remake director Tetsuya Nomura has stated that the game has progressed much further than we imagined, and that the primary reason that the company hasn't disclosed more explicit details or any updated media of the game yet is because they wanted their primary focus to be Kingdom Hearts 3. And with the release of Kingdom Hearts 3, he said he would be able to talk about Final Fantasy VII Remake thereafter. Now that Kingdom Hearts 3 has released with much financial success behind it, there's nothing blocking the way. The PR team seems to have seen Final Fantasy VII as a big distraction, and understandably so, as FF7 itself is more than just the highest selling single player Final Fantasy, but also the most broadly influential game that Square Enix has ever made. Any news about this game completely breaks the internet. It would have been easy for media attention that's placed on Kingdom Hearts 3 to get sucked away by Final Fantasy VII, but also marketing is a really hard job too, and so trying to market both of these massive AAA products at the same time would have been a huge task for the marketing team as well. Going even deeper than that, Kingdom Hearts 3 approached completion much faster, primarily because it was in development before Final Fantasy VII Remake, and it only made sense for Square to put 100% of their marketing focus on the game that was actually coming out first. And now that it's the only game that Nomura is directing, at least that we know about, with his full attention, it should theoretically speed things up. Then there was the recent meeting with investors. Square Enix showed investors that they were expecting a massive spike in operating income for their third quarter of fiscal year 2020. On our calendar, this actually translates to the fourth quarter of this year, and more specifically, and in a sense more practically, the holiday season of 2019. But this massive spike of $400 million can't just come from nowhere. When CEO Yosuke Matsuda was asked on how they plan to achieve this, his reply was that further details will be discussed at E3, meaning at the very least, Square Enix has something massive to announce at E3. Though considering the amount of money that it is, it's pretty fair to assume that it might be Final Fantasy VII Remake. David Gibson, a video game analyst for the Japanese game industry, voiced on Twitter about the matter. Square Enix commented it had many titles to come in the third quarter of fiscal year 2020, and thought it could get 40 to 50 billion yen OP. The main issue being timing and quality of games. Said it would announce titles at E3, wanted to ensure short time between announcement and release. Let's be clear, I think this means Final Fantasy VII news at E3 for a 2019 launch. That's a pretty favorable opinion coming from someone who spent years analyzing the Japanese game industry. Though when it comes down to it, there's honestly just no telling with Square Enix, especially when it comes to major mainline Final Fantasy games. While all the clues do strongly point to a conclusion that Final Fantasy VII Remake is going to be shown off in all of its glory, I just want to remind you that this company has also earned its reputation of just underwhelming fans when it comes to showing off these major games. So please be excited, but also please keep level-headed expectations. So Ultima Weapons, I want to know, do you think Square Enix will finally give us a real taste of Final Fantasy VII Remake this year at E3? Or do you think I'll be making this exact same video for E3 2020 but sounding slightly angrier? Subscribe, click the bell icon, and let me know in the comments below. And if you've been enjoying my content, be sure to check out the Twitch for the Night Sky Prince at twitch.tv/thenightskyprince, where I'm going to soon begin my Kingdom Hearts 3 Critical Mode run. You won't want to miss it. Link in the description below. Today's Patreon shoutout goes out to Tony Rivera. Shout out to them and the rest of the Ultima community.